country to remind the people that they are obligated to become active in the work. In the classroom, at the dining table, walking down the street with your brother, you should be talking about repairing oneself, repairing the nation, making a way for our children, making our ancestors proud. That's why we're here.
What's the legal justification for a reparations lawsuit? Well, a sister by the name of Deidre Farmer Paleman filed a lawsuit back in 2002. In 2004 in Chicago, and it was about a $1.4 trillion lawsuit against Bank of America and Aetna and 6 other corporations. She lost that case when the district court in 2004-2005 ruled against her, not because her reparations lawsuit was bad, but because she lacked standing. In other words, they said you got a good claim, but you don't have the right plaintiff. You don't have anybody who was enslaved. And because you don't have an enslaved person here to bring the lawsuit, then you have no victim. The theory was that there's no white person alive today who enslaved anybody, and there is no black person alive today who was enslaved.
A government is the only apparatus in which reparations can be received. A government is the only apparatus in which reparations can be received. If you look at every other group of people that have been afflicted by other nations, it's been paid from one government to another. You didn't see the Japanese seeking reparations here. They went to the United Nations, paid from the United States government to the Japanese government. The Cherokee Nation, I think, had to come together, right? To come together so they can get their reparations, and now they have, to me, a horrible form of reparations, but they have something. They have reservations. They had to come together, form a government, and get reparations. What did the Jews do? They put all their differences aside really quick for that.
Reparations are due. This is the legal foundation under international law. Since the U.S. government cannot restore our mother tongue, Congress and President Obama should speak with the Honorable Silas Muhammad and representatives from the Afro-descended government about reparations. America will argue that it would not apply a modern-day law to a historical act. The Honorable Silas Muhammad took a modern-day violation that America committed and applied it to a modern-day law.
Good afternoon. In the King's corrupted form of language, we greet you. To officially open this meeting, we have our youth here who are going to perform libation. So let us move forth. Come forth, brother. Who's going to do the libation?
My name is Jasim Sanders, and I'm from West Philly, and I'm here on behalf of Imhotep Institute Charter High School. And I'm sorry, this plane is in my way. I need to find a good spot for this. Basically, libation is a ceremony that in school we perform it every morning, and it's basically just acknowledging your ancestors, and And it's like, say, in a movie, how you might see a group of young black people together, and one of them might pour 40 out or something like that, like for the day of homies. It's basically like that. It's the same thing, but we use water in a plant. Okay, so there's a call and response in libation. I'll say a series of statements, and then afterwards I'll say Ashe, and in response, you also say Ashe. So, may I have permission from the elder to begin? Thank you. We pour libation for our ancestors, Ashe. We pour libation for the Africans who were taken during the Great Ma'af for the Great Disaster, Ashe. We pour libation for all Africans who had to suffer on slave ships, being piled one on top of the other, squished in like sardines, Ashe. We pour libation for Africans on slave ships who said they weren't going to be enslaved and they weren't going to take this, and they jumped off the ship, Ashe. We pour libation for all enslaved Africans brought to America who had to suffer, who were born into a world that didn't love them, and who were stripped from their parents and forced to work day and night, Ashe. We pour libation for great African leaders who came before us, such as Martin Luther King Jr., Ashe. Such as Malcolm X, Ashe. Sojourner Truth, Ashe. Rosa Parks, Ashe. We pour libation for the Honorable Prophet Muhammad, Ashe. We pour libation for African Americans who had to sit through sit-ins and protests and boycotts and dog bites and dogs being sicked on them and water hoses, Ashe. We pour affirmation for African Americans who are still suffering through the same thing today, Ashe. Boycotts and protests and smoke bombs and mace in the face, Ashe. We pour affirmation for everyone in this room today, Ashe. We pour affirmation for all the great kings and queens spread all throughout the Americas, Ashe. And finally, we pour libation to those who are yet to be born. May they be born into a world filled with love, justice, and knowledge, Ashe. 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 Thank you.
Let's give them a round of applause, please. One of the main forms of communications of our ancestors is the talking drum. The talking drum could be used as a signal, a warning, from miles and miles and miles away. The sound could be heard. When the European and intruder came into the country, he didn't know the communication sound. He would hear it, but he did not understand it. So these young brothers now, they're going to talk to the ancestors for us. They're going to communicate the way the ancestors communicated. Listen, feel, and believe. Go on, young brothers. officially ready, right?
Yes, sir.
That's our youth. At one moment when those drums were beating, I felt like running. Did you feel like that? I felt like we were running from something. I was like, man, we got to run. Yeah, we got to go. We got to run. I mean, I was just in my mind, that's where I was going. You know, because it just was a part of my soul. It was touching the very core of self.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we're here to talk about. The repairing of self.
Yes, sir.
This is a movement that we're taking across the country.
Right. Yes, sir.
The Reparations Tour.
Yes, sir.
We're taking this movement across the country
Yes, sir.
to remind the people that they are obligated to become active in the work,
Yes, sir.
in the classroom, at the dining table,
Yes, sir.
walking down the street with your brother.
Yes, sir.
You should be talking about repairing oneself, repairing the nation,
Yes, sir.
making a way for our children,
Yes, sir.
making our ancestors proud.
Yes, sir.
That's why we're here.
Right.
We're not here to justify reparations. Reparations justifies itself.
Yes, sir.
We're here to now talk about coming together to work and get this problem done.
Yes, sir.
That's why we're here.
Right.
So I welcome you to the International House in Philadelphia. I'm glad that you have made it safely, those who are here. You being here is impactful for us because it's important to us as individuals. So we thank you for coming out. I am Minister Ishmael from Philadelphia Mosque under the direction of the Most Honorable Silas Muhammad. I'm going to be your MC.
Yes, sir.
I'm not the one going to lay the message out for you.
You ain't gonna bring no heat, sir.
No, sir, I don't need to bring the heat. I got a lineup. I got a team.
Okay.
The team going to bring the heat.
Speak about it, sir.
See, I like that part. That this is a collective effort.
Yes, sir.
This is not an individual effort.
Yes, sir.
This is all of us coming together
Yes, sir.
to achieve a goal.
Yes, sir.
Nationalistic, atheist, Muslim, Christian, it don't matter. Reparations is across the board.
Right. Yes, sir. That's right.
See, that one common thing we can talk about
Yes, sir.
is reparations.
Yes, sir.
See, we can argue about religion.
Yes, sir.
We can argue all day long about that difference. But see, when we talk about being healed from the atrocities that occurred to our people, that's common.
Yes, sir.
When we sit here and say, I am communicating to you in a language that is foreign, it's not your native tongue. That's common.
Yes, sir.
See, we've been talking in this language so long, we forgot it ain't ours.
That's right.
We done got comfortable.
Yes, sir.
We done got comfortable using this language. It's a foreign language.
Right.
It's an alien language.
Right.
It's not original
Yes, sir.
to you and me.
Yes, sir.
But we've been subsumed in this culture so long that now it's common to say to a brother and sister, hello. That's what we say.
What that mean?
What that means, I don't know. But we say it.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, brother?
Hell is low.
What's up, dog? You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
That language, this language has become a part of us, our nature. But it should be a reminder of what has happened to us.
Yes, sir.
Why we need reparations. When you speak an English word out your mouth, you should be saying reparations. Reparations. This is why I need it.
Every time.
This is why I need it, because I don't even know my original tongue anymore.
Yes, sir.
I don't even know my name anymore.
Yes, sir.
My culture idea where I came from. All across the world, just imagine this. It's 44 plus million of us all speaking English in this country.
Yes, sir.
And nobody stops to say, why are we speaking English?
That's right.
You know, like when you get on the bus and your Hispanic brother or your Cuban brother or sisters on the bus and they want to speak in their tongue that you may not understand. They want to be private.
Yes, sir.
And they switch gears on you and you get mad because you don't understand the language.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
But
sir.
they want to be private to themselves.
Yes, sir.
So they switch out of the corrupted King's English and they speak a language that's more natural to them.
Yes, sir.
It ain't theirs, but it's closer to what they may understand. It's a corrupted form of what they might have had. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So, but we got to get more real with ourselves. And that's why we put this powerful pack of speakers together.
Yes, sir.
I'm impressed with these brothers and sisters. And before I bring up my next guest, I want to give you a political thought. The government of America in the 60s decided that they would come amongst the so-called African American, Afro-American, looking for a Messiah. Now think about this. A political entity comes amongst a people whom they have taught that the Messiah was a religious entity, looking for that Messiah because they were afraid of what will occur in the political entity. You understand what I'm telling you?
Yes, sir. Come on with it.
That this Messiah was not what they gave us in the religious sense, but a savior in the political sense
Yes, sir.
for the people.
Yes, sir.
All right? So that's where we're going. So our next brother is a brother that's native to Philadelphia, as far as I know. He has always impressed me in his sincereness and his contributions in dealing with the injustices wherever they may be. They say that he is a lawyer, but I say he's not a liar. Because lawyers, to me, entail being liars. They learn how to be intelligent liars.
Good one.
Michael is a revolutionary brother who fights injustice wherever they are,
Yes, sir.
whether it's in the legal arena or outside.
Yes, sir.
He has always done this. It's his nature. He has even fought the illegality of the name. You know, his name in the legal realm is Michael Cord. But when I heard him speak, he says, I'm Michael X. And we know why he chose the X, right? Everybody knows that. Because he said what my original identity is unknown. So with that, it gives me great pleasure to turn this roster over to him. I want you to hear him and hear him with your inner ear. The ear which transports the intelligence of the mind.
Yes, sir.
Michael, can you come forth, please? Please.
I certainly appreciate that great introduction, and I'm going to make sure that my comments are limited to about maybe 7 or 8 minutes. I want to do more listening than talking. I had Brother Ishmael on my radio show last week, and I tried to find out from him, what exactly are you talking about specifically when it comes to reparations? And he told me about the blueprint. So he wouldn't give me the full course of the blueprint on the radio show. He gave me the appetizer and told me to come here for the full meal, so I'm here. I'm so glad he laid out what he laid out, because when I go into court, you know, when I decided to become a lawyer, I recognized from the very beginning that the law is like a card game where everybody's cheating. And you know everybody's cheating, and the best cheater will be the winner. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to participate in that corrupt game. But then I realized that that's the game or the system of America. Either infiltrate that game and win for your people, or just do something else completely. And we as soldiers, black men as soldiers, we have to look at the battle, this war, as a war where we need the Army, we need the Navy, we need the Air Force, we need the Marines. So some people outside doing their thing, some people doing their thing over here. I decided the most effective thing for me was to infiltrate the legal system and do as much damage on the inside as I can, and then bring that stuff back to the people. I'm born and raised in North Philly. I got a full scholarship to go to Ohio State University School of Law. And while I was there, every time I went to this magnificent, fancy law library on OSU's campus, I felt like a soldier behind enemy lines. I'm like, if they had any idea what I was going to do with this information, they would kick me out of this law school right now. And that's exactly our mindset. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes talking about the issue of reparations, but when I was introduced, there were some things that came up that I wanted to mention, to talk about. One is the name Michael Cord. I'm not going to say that I despise the name, because I love my mother and I love my father, and the name came from them. So out of respect to them, I haven't officially changed it, but I did say when they both become ancestors, I'd feel more comfortable officially changing it, because I'm not going to be like that young black guy who's fortunate enough to go to a good school and fortunate enough to go to college and fortunate to go to law school, and all of a sudden I'm better intellectually than my mom and pop. Right. They never got that exposure. Right. All they knew is that their mom and pop was Cord, so they just passed it down. So I can't come back like this arrogant son telling them, get rid of that name, get rid of it now, because I read this book by this person, I read this stuff by this scholar. Yeah, I did, but I got to defer to them. So I said that once they both become elders, once they both become ancestors, I would decide to do it. Why? Because look at the name Michael Cord. I went back. I did the genealogical research and found out that in 1753, in the land that's now Virginia, an Englishman, originally from Ireland, came to America, bought up a boatload of Africans and stamped the name Cord on them. Simple as that. White man, Irishman, from England, comes to America, got some money, buy up a boatload of black folks and stamps the name Cord on them. I'd be a fool to wave his banner. And that's exactly what I'm doing. My mom and pop are not fools because they weren't fortunate. In fact, I'm fortunate because they and people like them fought to get me into good schools, fought to get me into a position where I can come back, and now I can do the right thing. Having said that, do the right thing, people often introduce me as a lawyer. And I love the introduction I just got, but I go even beyond that. I say that I am not a lawyer who happens to be a black man. Instead, I'm a black man who just happens to be a lawyer. And there's a difference. I'm simply using this legal thing as a means to an end. And I'm not naive. I'm not so naive to think that, hey, I can become this great lawyer. I can be a Johnny Cochran. I can be a Cecil B. Moore. I can be a Charles Bowser. And I can do all this thing and change the system. No, the system's not going to change by using the system. This whole attack on the system is like chopping down a tree. You're not going to chop down a tree with just one bang with the axe. You got to chip away. And that's exactly what I'm doing on the inside as a lawyer. And I don't even go to court to get justice. People are like, well, isn't that the whole goal of a lawyer, to get justice? No. I understand the foundation of this American legal system. You know what they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. If the root is corrupt, then the fruit is corrupt. And that's exactly what we got with the legal system in America. So I'm not so naive to think that I can go to these law libraries, I can do all this extra work, I can do all this exceptional research, and then I can come into court and argue to the judge and I'll get justice. No, you are a fool if you think that. They don't care about that. So my role, I mean, anytime you see, for example, and I always say that, yeah, black folks, each generation, things have gotten better for us. That's true to a certain extent, but in a certain extent, it's gotten worse.
Yes, sir.
Back, say, for example, in 1915, in 1950, in 1970, when white cops would kill unarmed black men, at least the white cop had plausible deniability. He could say, the guy reached for a gun and I was afraid for my life and I had to shoot him. We don't know what happened because nobody saw it in 1915 or 1960 or 1970. But the way it's gotten worse is we see it. We see them actually kill Eric Garner. We didn't see it in 1915. We knew it, but we couldn't prove it. We couldn't do it in 1950 and 1970. So the reason why I say it's gotten worse is now there's no plausible deniability. They can't say it's my word against his. I'm looking right at you, kill that man. And no matter what happens, we saw what happened to Rodney King and how the jurors in Simi Valley said not guilty. So I don't care if I'm Johnny Cochran coming in with a strong argument. If these white racist jurors, white racist judges, and the system is going to ignore it, then I'm a fool by thinking that let me be a better lawyer and I'm going to get better justice. No, you're not. And if you think you are, you're a fool. So I don't go to court to get justice. I go to court to expose the injustice. That's why I tell people I've never lost a case. And I've never lost a case because there's just so much injustice out there. And people say, well, why do you want to expose the justice? My thing is, as my grandparents used to say, when you know better, you'll do better. So now I can yell and scream all day long to people about injustice. And they're like, okay, I hear it. But if I can show them what happened to Mumia Abu-Jamal in court, if I can show them what happened in regard to Trayvon Martin in court, if I can show them all this, they're like, wow, you're not just crazy black guy. You actually bringing us the truth. And now once they get this truth, now once they see this truth, now once they see this injustice, just like my mom and pop kind of think the court name is cool because they don't know, once I give them that stuff, now they're thinking, wow, I can see where change needs to come. So again, and I always tell young black men and young black women who want to go to law school, don't go to law school to be rich and famous. Go to law school to use the system, to beat the system. Because the only reason people like me got into law school is because my parents and people their age, my grandparents, people their age, they fought. We saw the video before the program began. Black people being attacked by dogs, water hose, all that. They laid that foundation, sacrifice to get me here. I would be a traitor worthy of death if I turned my back on that. I'm only here talking to you today because of what they did. And I got my own stopwatch here, and I got about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I want to wrap this up quickly, but I want to break down the whole reparations thing. And again, I'm here to listen more than to talk. But let me tell you what I learned by being a law student, what I learned by being a history major, what I learned from all that stuff, and how I'm going to break it down to you. What's the basis from a legal standpoint for reparations? It comes down to this. If you want to talk about slavery officially, in terms of being on the books, it began August 20, 1619. If you want to talk about when slavery ended officially on the books, you're talking about 1865 with the 13th Amendment. But don't be deceived. The 13th Amendment in 1865 did not end slavery. You actually just read it. Don't listen to me. It says, slavery and involuntary servitude are hereby abolished. Then in small print at the bottom, unless you have been convicted of a crime. So what did that mean? You could enslave a black man and a black woman before 1865 simply because they were black. But after 1865, you had to make up some laws, make up some crimes, convict them of those crimes, and then enslave them. That's why there's something called the Black Codes. The Black Codes were laws that were passed after 1865 to criminalize black people. The vagrancy law that applies today. The definition of vagrancy today is out in public with no visible means of support. That came about in 1865. So now the black folks on the plantation, 13th Amendment today, now they're off the plantation on the side of the road because they got their freedom through the 13th Amendment. Oh, so they thought. Sheriff comes along and says, pardon my language, what are you niggas doing out here? Hey, we got our freedom yesterday. Well, do you have a job? No. You got income? No. You got property? No. Well, you're a vagrant. What does that mean? That means you have no visible means of support. Now the sheriff locks them up, take them to the county lockup, has a kangaroo court trial, they're found guilty, give them a $50 fine, but they can't pay it. The former master comes along, pays off the $50 fine, but now they got to go back to the plantation to work off that $50 fine. That's going to take about a month. They then work it off, come back, and still vagrants. A vicious cycle. Then something called convict leasing happened. And convict leasing was the system realized that they could make up all these laws to imprison these black people, but they said, okay, it's good that we're locking up these black people, but we need to benefit in some way. So they decided to take these black people who are in jail and lease them out to the former plantation. So now they go back to the tobacco farm, they go back to the cotton field, they go back to the mines, and they're doing the very same work, but now the county is getting paid for that. In my last minute, let me just say this. The laws that they passed, I talked about the vagrancy law. There was also the railroad law. What was that? It was a crime for black people to be within 500 yards of a railway line. Why is that? Because black folks were jumping on trains in the South to get to the North. There were also pig laws, and we know that the pig is a filthy animal, but black folks during slavery were fed that filth and developed a taste for it. Now they got the so-called freedom. They're out on the road, they're hungry. They would grab a pig to eat it. Well, before it might be a $2 fine for stealing a pig, now it was 5 years in state prison. So black folks getting locked up for stealing pigs to eat. What about what I call, in fact, the actual name is the White Women Yelling Law. What's the White Women Yelling Law? It was a law first based in Alabama, then spread out that it was illegal for a black man to raise his voice in the presence of a white woman. That's why today when I go downtown as a lawyer, if I see white women, I just yell for no reason at all. Acting like I'm calling a friend across the street. I'm just yelling because the white woman is there, because my ancestors couldn't. But let me quickly wrap up. Slavery really didn't end in 1865. If you want to talk about when it quote unquote ended, you can start that in 1964 with the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that kind of cracked the door open for equal opportunity. What does that mean? That means 1619 to 1964, 345 years of slavery, and then 1964 to today, 2015. That means we've only been free, quote unquote, for about 51 years. But we can't say we're free because there are more black men in prison today than there were enslaved in 1860. Let me repeat that. More black men in jail today than were enslaved in 1860. Wrapping this up in the last 37 seconds. And actually I got about 2 more hours, but again, I want to hear more than I'm talking. What's the legal basis of reparations? First, let's start with the definition of the word reparations. It comes from repair, which means to make up for a wrong, which means to restore to good, which means to repair. In other words, put black people in 2015 in the position they would have been had there not been slavery.
Yes, sir.
Simple as that. Just repair it. I'd like to think I'm the greatest black lawyer. No, the greatest lawyer in Philly. Can you imagine how much greater I would have been if my pop was a lawyer, my grandfather was a lawyer, my great-grandfather? I'm going up against these white boys who's come from a line of lawyers, and I'm still rumbling them and winning. So this is the last thing in the last 17 seconds. It goes like this. What's the legal justification for a reparations lawsuit? Well, a sister by the name of Deidre Farmer Pailman filed a lawsuit back in 2002. In Chicago, and it was about a $1.4 trillion lawsuit against Bank of America and Aetna and 6 other corporations. She lost that case when the district court in 2004, 2005 ruled against her, not because her reparations lawsuit was bad, but because she lacked standing. In other words, they said, you got a good claim, but you don't have the right plaintiff. You don't have anybody who was enslaved. And because you don't have an enslaved person here to bring the lawsuit, then you have no victim. The theory was that there's no white person alive today who enslaved anybody, and there is no black person alive today who was enslaved. But let me explain why that doesn't work. There's something in the law called, and it's a good thing, and I love to talk about the whole corruption of the English language because we get their words, but even though their words are corrupt, you can flip it and turn it right back on them. Use their corruption against them. There's something in the law called unjust enrichment. That's a legal concept, unjust enrichment. That means you might not have stolen it. Let me give you an example, and this is the best way to give it, unjust enrichment. I'm walking down the street, and I'm at Broad and Walnut, and I see this white boy with this really nice watch on. And I stop and say, hey man, that's a really nice watch. He says, yeah, you know, I got it from my ancestors. I'm like, well, let me take a look at it. So he flips it over, and it says, property of Michael Cord Sr. And I'm like, Michael Cord Sr., that was the name that was given to my great-great-great-great-grandfather. I'm like, where'd you get that watch from? He got it from his great-great-great-great-grandfather. As we're talking, I found out that his great-great-great-great-grandfather stole my great-great-great-grandfather's watch. The theory of unjust enrichment says, you didn't steal the watch, sir, but you got to give it up. Thank you very much.
That's what we need, information.
Yes, sir.
Information, active information.
Good stuff.
Because that's where we're trying to move. We want to form committees in every city
Yes, sir.
dealing with active information. Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. One more time. Well, we're going to keep moving right along, right?
Bring the heat.
It's for us, right? What is it, FUBU? How'd they go? For us, by us, right? Well, that's where we at with reparations. For us, by us. We created this movement
Yes, sir.
for the people,
Yes, sir.
by the people, right? So we're going to give it to the people. All right? So they're not here, they're going to have to get it on the video. Anyway, my next speaker is a person that I really admire, actually, because she's a youth. And she kind of reminds me of what our forefathers would be saying if they were here. When she speaks, I think about the forefathers. You know what I mean? The elders, because she's that wise, that dedicated. You know, she was born into this. Imagine that. All your life. That's all you know, is to fight. Fight for what is right. Fight for a righteous cause. So much so that you begin to create a way to take how you feel global. So now she's on Twitter, Facebook. She can be reached by any social mechanism. She's a powerful young sister, and she's the main speaker's daughter. And when you hear her, you hear him. So without further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to my little sister. I love her very much. Celia, come on up here, please. Give her a round of applause.
Okay, so I'm not going to be too long, but I kind of just put this PowerPoint together to just sort of break down some of the political terms in which Minister Najee Muhammad is going to go through. So the title of this PowerPoint is called Afro Descendants, and the picture that's on there is the International Decade for People of African Descent from 2015 to 2024. This is currently going on in the United Nations now. Every, I think, 10 to 15 years, the United Nations picks an ethnic group and they recognize them, and I think it's kind of befitting that starting at 2015, they're going to start recognizing our people, not Africans, but people of African descent. So people that are from the Caribbean, the United States, the City people in India, because a lot of people don't know about them. We have Afro-Iranians that are not represented. So this decade is dedicated to us. So what exactly happened? 400 years of systematic racism through chattel slavery and Jim Crow laws. Through the act of slavery, Afro-descendants have suffered physical, mental, emotional, and economic suffering. Through this suffering, we were dehumanized and we were made into a new and nothing people. As a collective, we lacked an identity to describe our experience and the new people we have become due to our experiences. Identity. Merriam-Webster defines identity as who someone is, the name of a person, the qualities, beliefs, etc. that make a particular person or group different from others. Without an identity, we are virtually unidentified and unknown. Afro-descendants is our new identity.
That's right.
Who are Afro-descendants? And I want everyone to really listen to this part because this is what's going to really separate us from every other reparations movement. And I'm going to build up so by the time the minister comes up, when he comes in with the meat of the lecture, you'll be able to kind of follow what he's talking about. Afro-descendants. The term Afro-descendants was the identity that was agreed upon by Afro-descendant people representing 19 countries in the Western Hemisphere at the March 2002 United Nations Forum in La Ceiba, Honduras. This is the part. Now, this is what distinguishes us from every other group of people. So an African person cannot call themselves this definition. It is exclusive to us. Afro-descendants refers to peoples who were forcibly dispossessed of their homeland, Africa, were transported to the Americas and slavery diaspora for the purpose of enslavement, were subjected to slavery, were subjected to forced mixed breeding and rape, and have experienced through force the loss of their mother tongue, culture, and religion, and or have experienced racial discrimination due to lost ties from their original identity. Afro-descendants from the United States were represented by Mr. Salas Muhammad, and I will talk about who he is a little bit further in this presentation, and 19 other participants or countries from Canada and Latin America, such as Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Lima, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Haiti, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, and Paraguay. Why did we need an identity or political identity? After a period of 64 years of seasoning of the first Africans that were enslaved, Africans were systematically separated from their way of life. Africans were denied the right of the use of their mother tongue, the right to practice their cultural customs, and the right to live in a community of other Africans with similar cultural customs and mother tongue. Through this systematic denial, along with other physical, mental, emotional abuses, Africans were no longer Africans. They were stripped of their name, language, culture, identity, heritage, and customs. They were made into a new people. Over the past 500 years, Afro-descendants' identity has changed. Some of their former identities included nigger, Negro, colored, Afro, Afro-American, Black, and African-American. Now here's a question that I would like to ask everybody. When you say African-American, what country does that link you to? Just America, but we know we're not indigenous to this country. If you see, and this is the International House of Philadelphia, you can ask one of these students who were born here, where are you from? I'm Nigerian American, I'm Chinese American, I'm Korean American, but the prefix of American links them back to a land. The prefix of African American links me to a continent. That makes no sense. That in itself shows me that we needed a new identity. Afro-descendants links us to descendants of Africa. We're going to go find this place, like the brother minister Shala said, the place that we're going to go, but until then, we're Afro-descendants. Only thing we know, that we're descendants from Africans. That's it. And we went through an experience, a common experience. An identity links a group of people to a nation and a government. Prior to this identity, Afro-descendants were grouped with white Americans and were virtually non-existent in the eyes of the world at the United Nations. Along with a new political identity, a government is needed. A government is the only apparatus in which reparations can be received. A government is the only apparatus in which reparations can be received. If you look at every other group of people that have been afflicted by other nations, It's been paid from one government to another. You didn't see the Japanese seeking reparations here. They went to the United Nations, paid from the United States government to the Japanese government. The Cherokee Nation, I think, had to come together, right? To come together so they can get their reparations. And now they have, to me, a horrible form of reparations, but they have something. They have reservations. They had to come together, form a government, and get reparations. What did the Jews do? They put all their differences aside really quick for that. Hasidic Jew, progressive Jew, and then they was even fighting about whether or not they should even have the land in Israel. Some of them felt like they shouldn't even be there. And others felt like, yes, we do belong there. They don't belong there, but they got it. Paid from one nation to another. And what is that nation called? Israel.
Right.
They got it together really quick.
Right. Good point. Teach us the teach. Go ahead.
Through slavery, Afro-descendants' human rights were violated, thus making us eligible for reparations. The importance of government. In the case of reparations can only be heard in the World Court, the United Nations. Mr. Michael X, the lawyer who was here before me, he talked about the case, how there was no plaintiff and there was no defendant that was here. We didn't need to go there. Because our human rights was violated, it's bigger than Aetna. It's bigger than all of those different corporations. You defiled me as a human being. And according to your laws, I have a right to bring my case before the World Court. There's nothing that Bank of America can do for me to restore my human rights. You defiled me in the most gross form that you could have ever imagined. Had our people eating out of hog troughs. I hate sometimes when my dad goes over all those statistics. I almost want to cry. Raped our women. These gynecologists studying on our uteruses, cutting us open alive, beating our men. And they don't want to talk about the homosexuality that they did on our men, and they want to know where it came from. You created this. You defiled me. Then you want to kill my brothers because they're replicating the behavior that you created. How dare you?
Yes, ma'am.
Civil rights issues are handled domestically within national governments. Civil rights issues are handled domestically within national governments. The civil rights movement happened where? Right here in America. Dr. Martin Luther King, I respect him immensely, a brilliant man, a brilliant scholar, a brilliant preacher, a brilliant orator. But he was talking about, before he met with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he was talking about domestic issues. Then when he started talking economics, he was talking international issues. Human rights issues and violations are handled internationally at the United Nations. That's where you go.
International court.
Exactly. Where did the Jews go when they say that Hitler did what they did to them?
International court.
Exactly. The importance of government. The United States decided to separate from the British Crown and create their own government. The Founding Fathers drafted the Declaration of Independence. They regarded themselves as 13 separate sovereign states, no longer under the British Empire crown. They formed a new government and nation called the United States of America. Me personally, I say it's treason because they brought you here to expand the British crown's terrain, but they said, okay, I'm tired of quartering your soldiers. I'm tired of paying this heavy tax on all these things. I'm tired of King George overworking us. We want to separate. We're tired of you. You're done. We're going to separate. And they created the United States government. And this is the picture of them declaring their so-called independence from the British Crown. Malcolm X stated in the autobiography of Malcolm X, page 361, the American black man needed to recognize that he had a strong, airtight case to take the United States before the United Nations on a formal accusation of the denial of human rights. If you claim you love Malcolm X, if you claim you liked him after he left the Nation of Islam, you should be fighting for human rights. Period. That's what he taught. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him, also talked about government. In the October 8, 1972 Theology of Time lecture, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him, stated, "We want to have senators for ourselves." In one of his last interviews, he talked about government as well. In this interview, Muhammad meets the press, he was asked a series of questions about what direction that the nation was going. The first question, or one of the series of questions he was asked, "You mean your successor will preside over a new Islam?" There will be no successor. There is no need for a successor when a man has got the divine truth and has brought you face to face with God. How will your resources be administered? That will be carried on by the nation after setting up the nation on the right way or right path to take care of ourselves. They do not need any more instruction on that. They will follow it as the Constitution of America has been followed. What does that sound like to you?
Sound like the government.
Exactly. Will it be run by local mosques? No, no, no. After this, the whole entire nation of black people will be governed divinely, and the government will be a divine government and not something that is governed locally. That means somewhere outside of here.
That's right.
Like we have today. We will have a divine government set up for us, and it will stand forever. We will not need any change, ruled by our own. We have a fully constituted government that you can refer to. So that is the apparatus upon which we will receive reparations. We're asking you, we're trying to persuade you with knowledge to come unite with us under this banner so we can go receive reparations. So we moved from us being a nothing people. We have an identity now that we didn't like the Brother Shalai said, it's not an individual, it was a collective cause with 19 other Afro-descendants, because we are late. If you go on Twitter and go on and hashtag Afro-descendants, our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean and South America have been using the word for years. We're the last group of people to not use it. So it's not just an effort by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it was a collective effort. We all are in agreement that we went through this experience, just on different coasts.
Right. Got dropped off different places.
Exactly. The government is for any Afro-descendants that meets the criteria set forth in the definition. I read the identity there. If you have went through that, which all of us in here have, you can be an Afro-descendant. The government is designed to serve the needs of all Afro-descendants as a whole, regardless of religious or political views. I'm a Muslim. I'm going to be a Muslim till I die. There's nothing, nobody's going to change that. But anyone else, you want to be a Christian? You can be a Christian. You want to be an atheist? You can be an atheist. You want to be a Hindu, a Jew? You don't want to worship anything? You want to worship a chair? As long as you're not doing anything immoral, do what you have to do. But I want you on this side with us. This nation is for all of us. What are human rights? Human rights are the basic standards without which people cannot live in dignity. To violate someone's human rights is to treat the person as though she or he were not a human being. Yeah. What are reparations? Reparations is defined as a repairing or keeping in repair, the act of making amends, offering expectation, or giving satisfaction for a wrong or injury, something done or given as amends or satisfaction. Reparations is a principle of law that has existed for centuries, referring to the obligation of a wrongdoing party to redress the damage caused to the injured party. Under international law, reparations must, as far as possible, wipe out all of the consequences of the illegal act and reestablish the situation which would, in all probability, had existed if the act had not been committed. There is no way that this country or any of those foul governments of France, British Empire, any of those different places, Spain, could do to make us whole again. But what they can do is give us resources so we can go forth ourselves and not ask them for anything. That's what they can do. That's the best they can do, and that's what we're entitled to. That's the least that they can do. So we're asking for them to give us enough resources to at least put us in a place where we would have been had you not interfered. The man behind the mission, the Honorable Silas Muhammad. A lot of people know him as a spiritual figure, and he is a spiritual figure, but he's also a political figure. And he does not care, like I said, about your religion as long as you want. Or I would say this, his greatest desire is to unite black people under the government. That is his greatest desire, more than anything else. He's fought tirelessly on this endeavor with his wife, Queen Mashaki Muhammad. So this is who he is. I want you to remember this name if you don't remember anything else. Remember his name. His name is the Honorable Silas Muhammad, and he was the representative, the only black representative from the United States that went on our behalf to fight for us. I didn't see J.C. Jackson. I didn't see Al Sharpton. I didn't see those people. No disrespect to Mr. John Conyers. He was not there either. His work was great, though, because he wanted to go show us that this bill has sat on the table in front of the United States Congress for 20 plus years, and they're not going to tell him that it can't be done with nationally, domestically. It can only be done internationally. So I thank him for his work, because he's going to show us that we can't fight here. I thank Callie House for what she's done. She asked for a $5 a month pension plan. And for the white people that say, well, why do you ask back then? She did ask back then, and your forefathers decided not to honor it. So now we're coming to collect back pay. Pay up. A thumbnail sketch of Mr. Muhammad. He was a member of the Nation of Islam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, peace be upon him. Top Muhammad speaks salesman in the Nation of Islam. Possesses degrees in mathematics and history. He also took law courses. In 1977, he resurrected the Nation of Islam, renaming it the Lost Foundation of Islam, the first and only to continue the teachings of contemporary Islam as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Delivered the first reparations petition to the United Nations in 1994. So this is 20 plus years of work. And they accepted it. They wrote it back, said received. So he went forth, and he kept going, and he kept going, and he kept going, and he kept going, until they figured out a way to destroy it, break down everything, so he couldn't go back. 1994 to 2008, that's a long time to keep going. He made over 30 trips to Geneva, Switzerland on our behalf, under the organization All for Freedom and Reparations and Emancipation. His oral statements and work are fully transparent and are available for your view at www.allforreparations.org. We're very transparent. We have nothing to hide here. We're not going to be spooky. You can go in and he has all his full oral statements of what he's done, his track record. Because, we never believe when a black man does something, but the white man told us that he didn't do it, you believe it, even though we have it on the internet. So you go forth for yourself and you can read it. And here's just some pictures of Mr. Muhammad, just if you want more proof that that's him and his wife, Queen Mashaki Muhammad, at the United Nations. There he is again. And there he is again with his wife, Queen Mashaki Muhammad. On January 14th, 2014, the Honorable Silas Muhammad released an open letter to President Obama, the United States Congress, and the Pope of Rome, addressing the issue of Afro-descendants and reparations. This earth-shaking letter will be read later on in the program. And as I close, important points to remember. Identity. From this day forward, when someone asks you who you are, say Afro-descendant. That links us, that gives us the power, the political power that we need. Do not call yourself black. That's a shade of color. African American does not link us to a country or a government. It isn't a black, like I said, it's a shade of color. Negro is just the Spanish version of black. It doesn't link us to anything. When you say Afro-descendant, it links us to a whole group of people around the world that share a common experience, despite cultural differences. The identity is recognized internationally and is being used by peoples of African descent around the world. A government is the only apparatus that can be used to receive reparations. Our government name is the Afro-descendant nation. So see how that identity links us to a government? Afro-descendant nation is named by our government. Reparations is paid from one government to another, and reparations is an international issue, not a domestic one. I leave you with this quote by Thomas Jefferson. Every man and every body of men possesses the right of self-government. Thomas Jefferson, Opinion on Residence Bill, 1790. If he says that, and he said that in 1790, then he would not be upset that we were doing what we're doing now, and at least his children that he had with Sally Hemings could even benefit from it. So, one last thing. We also had an economic stimulus plans from 2009. A lot of different groups are coming up saying that we've been doing this for a long time. So I just want everyone to just open their mind, and I hope this kind of prepped you so when the minister goes into his lecture, you know, you have some kind of terms already in your brain. Afro-descendant government, and a nation. Reparations is paid from one government to another, and reparations is a what issue? International issue. Thank you.
What more do we need to say but to go on and bring on the main course? So, how do I say this? For today, I would like to alleviate the term minister. Those of you in the Nation of Islam, they know what minister means. In my mind, my brother is, first of all, a doctor in what he does. In my mind, he's a doctor in what he does. But second of all, in the Afro-descendant nation, he is a senator. Did you hear what I said?
Yes, sir.
He is a senator who represents the people. Remember, when we came in, we talked about this movement being what? The people's movement. This is for the people. This is for them.
Yes, sir.
So what this information that he's going to give you, he's going to bring it to you. He's going to bring it to you from the perspective of government, a governmental man, a man representing you in a government sense.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that? I know it's new to us.
Yes, sir.
Because we don't do that. And in America, if you say senator or someone congressman, you're normally thinking, well, this person may be corrupted.
You might be corrupt.
Yeah, right? But now we're saying in the Afro-descendant nation, we have been working for you, and you don't know we have. Building the government.
Yes, sir.
Devising a plan to get you reparations.
Yes, sir.
We're wise enough to understand that reparations comes from one nation to another.
Right.
So we're already on the way for you. That's what Sister was saying.
Right. Right.
We have already prepared the path.
Yeah.
Join on.
Going on.
Help out. Become active.
Yes, sir.
Disseminate information. Come and be a part of the committee.
Right.
In your city, in your town, in your place. Because we're certainly going to start one here.
Yes, sir.
Big brothers, your big brother, Senator Najee Muhammad.
Greetings to you. But I have to give you the greetings in our mother tongue.
Yes, sir.
I can't help it.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sir.
That feels good.
Yes, sir.
seen and heard today.
Yes, sir.
Today is a great day. If our ancestors could look from their graves, they would clap their hands. My children is standing up for justice.
Yes, sir.
Look at my children. Oh, my children. Oh, my children is standing up for justice.
Yes, sir.
So my work will not be in vain. 310 years of blood, sweat, and tears. Oh, my children is standing up. Oh, they would be crying in their graves to know that one of their descendants, one of their children, have stood up for justice.
Yes, sir. Come on.
For all of us and for them. I feel so good today. I am so proud to be in Philadelphia. I come here to spread the good news
That's right.
about our government.
Yes, sir.
Oh, they're going to tremble in their boots.
Yes, sir.
Just to know that we have come to roll out our government. We're going to call all of our people, come on, unify with us, and let's bring this Caucasian to justice.
Yes, sir.
He's just a two-legged human being.
Yes, sir.
And I know some of you might say they're not going to give it to us. Based on your limited knowledge.
Prophecy. Come on.
Based on your limited knowledge.
Yes, sir.
You heard about the hurricane, right?
Yes, sir.
That's out there, right?
Yes, sir.
Don't nothing happen unless man calls it to happen.
That's right.
This is your day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the God of freedom, justice, and equality is on your side.
That's right.
And that God, and I'm going to bring it back to the political realm. But I have to break this down to you so you will be able to understand that we're going to win.
Yes, sir.
In the end, we're going to be winners.
Yes, sir.
In America, she's going to pay because she's in violation of international law.
That's right.
There is no doubt in my mind that she's going to pay. Because we have an equalizer with us today.
Come on. Yes, sir.
No doubt.
Yes, sir.
No doubt whatsoever. I come to spread the good news
Good news.
about your government.
Yes, sir. Our government.
We have a president,
Yes, sir.
vice president.
Yes, sir.
We have a Congress
Yes, sir.
working on your behalf, black man and woman.
That's right.
Come on up under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant government,
That's right.
and we can get it. We can get it.
That's right.
Have you ever heard of the term hidden in plain sight?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, the Caucasian hid it in plain sight.
That's right.
Now, what is I'm saying? Reparations is paid from one government to the another government.
Yes, sir.
So, Silas Muhammad, the Honorable Silas Muhammad, and the members of the Lost Foundation of Islam came together and formed a government. And we also have a constitution.
That's right. Speak about it, sir.
John McCain. John McCain. You heard of John McCain, Senator John McCain, right? Senator John McCain, great-great-grandfather owned slaves. But we have a government. And the United States is going to have to deal with that government the same way she deals with other governments. Can you imagine when they learned that a government was formed right from up under their nose and that black people want to govern themselves? Black people want to separate from America. Black people say that they want to be independent and they want to control their own destiny, or else America will.
Yeah, that's right.
We are tired of America.
Yes, sir.
We are sick and tired of her.
Yes, sir.
Been crying for justice for 460 years. Isn't that a long time to cry?
Sir.
Would a mother allow her baby to cry for 15 minutes? For 5 minutes? For 3 minutes? America has allowed us to cry for 460 years. We have to ask ourselves, what kind of people is this? Can you feel me?
Yes, sir.
Reparations. Reparations is an idea whose time has come.
Yes, sir.
If you was driving down Broad Street and someone ran a red light and hit your car, and your neck was broken in the process, shouldn't the driver of that car pay for the damage?
Yes, sir.
Shouldn't that driver pay for your pain and suffering?
Yes, sir.
Shouldn't that driver pay your medical bills?
Yes, sir.
What would you think about that driver if that driver didn't pay your medical bills and for your pain and suffering and the damage to your car? You would be angry, right?
Yes, sir.
Look what they done to our people. They stripped them of their names, religion, culture, history, language, and identity. Isn't that damage? Yes, that's damage. Being sold like cattle, stripped of their human rights, and worked without pay for 310 years proves that they were severely damaged. Can you imagine working for 310 years and not receiving any compensation? Just think now. You work all year long, and you gave all of your money to Donald Trump. Wouldn't you be upset? I know I would be upset.
Yes, sir.
Let's look at this damage. And I'm I'm working my way to where I want to be, and once I get there, you'll know, because you'll start feeling kind of warm inside.
Yes, sir.
I'm working my way there. Mhm. I'm from Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
The U.S. Capitol was built with slave labor.
That's right.
And today they have renovated or built a section on the Capitol called Emancipation Hall
Yes, sir.
to recognize those slaves who built the Capitol. Those slaves worked and they hoisted up the Statue of Freedom and put it on the dome of that built the White House and the Washington Monument, and carved out the roads for the nation's capital. We, me and you, descended from a people who came from over 200 different tribes and spoke over 200 different languages. Today, we, 40 million Afro-descendants, cannot speak our mother tongue because it was forcibly taken from our ancestors. We can't speak our language like other ethnic groups in America. Our case is unique from all other ethnic groups in America.
Sir.
They can speak their language, but you can't.
Right.
You descended from a people who spoke over 200 different languages. And it's been, your language has been reduced to zero.
Yes, sir.
Look at that damage. That's what I'm trying to show you. 200 different languages, and you cannot speak your mother tongue. Something happened to you. I'm going to tell you what happened. I'm going to give you a backdrop on the history of how your language was taken. And after that, we're going to move to the international arena. We're going to show you the wisdom of the Honorable Silas Muhammad and why he went to the United Nations.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever figured out why we haven't received reparations yet?
Good point. Good question.
In 2003, Harper's Magazine published a magazine, and the title of this magazine is Slave Reparations, an idea whose time has come. The nation's best tort lawyers explain how to sue the U.S. government, corporations, and citizens on behalf of American blacks. Where is your reparations? You sued the corporations. Where is your reparations? Who was sharp enough to see the wrongdoing of this government, the wrongdoing of America? I'm going to show you.
Yes, sir.
I want to skip it so bad, but I got to give you this backdrop first.
Come on.
So just bear with me. Is everybody all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Take your time, Minister.
Bear with me. We're going to get there. Let me before you know it, you're going to be feeling warm inside. You're going to say, whoa. Now let's look at this history about this mother tongue, because that's where we're going. The slave maker knew that he couldn't make these people slaves until he first made them dumb. And one of the best ways to make a man dumb is to take his tongue. Right. Take his language. Right. A man who can't talk, what do they call him? A dummy. Once your language is gone, you're a dummy. You can't communicate with people who are your relatives. You can never have access to information from your family. You just can't communicate.
Yes, sir.
Also, if you will notice, the natural tongue that one speaks is referred to as mother tongue. Mother tongue. And the natural intelligence that a person has before he goes to school is called mother with. Not father with. It's called mother with. Because everything a child knows before it gets to school, it learns from its mother, not its father. And if he never goes to school, whatever native intelligence it has, it got it primarily from his mother, not his father. So it's called mother with. And the mother is also the one who teaches the child how to speak its language. So that the natural tongue is called the mother tongue. Whenever you find as many people as we are who aren't able to speak any mother tongue, why? That's evidence right there that something was done to our mother. Something had to happen to her. Something terrible happened to our mother.
Yes, sir.
Something happened to her. Today you cannot speak your language. You descended from over 200 different tribes and spoke over 200 different languages. But today you cannot speak your mother tongue because something happened to your mother. They had laws in those days that made it mandatory for a black child to be taken from its mother as fast as the child was born. The mother never had a chance to rear it. The child would be brought up somewhere else away from the mother, so that the mother couldn't teach the child what she knew about itself, about her past, about its heritage. It would have to grow up in complete darkness, knowing nothing about the land where it came from, or the people that it came from, not even about its own mother. There was no relationship between the black child and its mother. It was against the law. And if the master would ever find any of those children who had any knowledge of its mother tongue, that child was put to death. They had to stamp it out. They had to stamp out the language. They did it scientifically. If they found any one of them that could speak it, off with their head. Or they would put it to death. They would kill it in front of the mother, if necessary. This history, this is how they took your language. You didn't lose it. It didn't evaporate. They took it with a scientific process because they knew they had to take it to make you dumb, or into the dummy that you and I now are. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
something happened to our mother. And we have to stand up and do justice for our mother. You know, we don't like for no one to talk about our mother. Am I right? No, when you start playing the dozens, you know what the dozens is, right?
Yes, sir.
Talking about mother, right?
That's right.
You might go back and forth a little bit, but if if your classmates step beyond the limits, it's going to be a fight.
Yes, sir.
Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So what I'm saying to you is that this Caucasian have stepped beyond the limits.
Found them out.
Oh, we got to bring him to justice.
That's right.
We got to make our ancestors proud. We got to make our mother proud.
Yes,
We got to do that. Make our mother proud.
yes, sir.
The Honorable Silas Muhammad. I thank him for showing us the way.
Yes, sir.
I thank the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I thank Master Farad Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
I thank them for coming together. I thank Master Farad Muhammad for impregnating the mind of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
I thank the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for giving birth to the Honorable Silas Muhammad. I thank him. For he is showing us the way to govern ourselves.
Yes, sir.
He's showing us the way. That white man thought that he was going to continue what he was continuing forever. But a black man has stood up in America. Have stood up on your behalf. And he went to the United Nations. Made over 30 trips. Because he have an undying love for you. And he want to see you govern yourself.
Yes, sir.
Like all other people. The Honorable Silas Muhammad's reparations petition was delivered to the United Nations in 1990. America, written by Professor Joe R. Fagan, talked about the human rights petition that was delivered to the United Nations. How is it that a white man can publish a book called Racist America and talk about this human rights petition, and we cannot get the black press to even mention him? The black press should be ashamed of themselves.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
You know that the white press is not going to advertise him or promote him or write about him. And here's a white man who published a book, and the name of the title of the book is Racist America. That's an indictment on you, black press.
Yes, sir.
You got to get on your job because you slipping.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Now I'm coming from a statement here by the Honorable Silas Muhammad. And the title is, We Are Human Beings. The United Nations holds categories of 3 different types of groups of people. One is a minority. That's a term politically attached to a group of people who lived within a country and who migrated to that country after and or during the time when that country became a constituted government. The Jews here in America are a good example of a minority. There is another group called national minority. The national minority is a term politically attached to a group of people who are in a country, who resides there and live there and have been there prior to or before that government became a formalized or constituted government. It seems you ought to fit this term since you were here prior to America becoming a constituted government. The United Nations say that it has to find out where you fit. Why? Because minorities and national minorities have one thing in common. What is that? They have politically recognized human rights. They're inalienable human rights. What are they? The right to speak their own tongue. That tongue which began at the time when they were developing as a people. They have an inherent right to their mother tongue. You had a mother's tongue. Why aren't you considered a national minority by the United Nations? It was taken away. Now he's talking about your mother tongue, your language.
Yes, sir.
Another category is peoples, indigenous people. The UN classified some of the American Indians as peoples. The white majority took Canada and America from them. So the United Nations does not call them minority or national minority. It's called them peoples. As a peoples, they are entitled to their language. You are neither peoples, a majority, a minority, nor a national minority. What language do you speak at home and teach your children? Is it not English? Then whose language are you reproducing? What religion do you practice and teach your children? Is it not Christianity? Then whose religion are you reproducing? What culture do you emulate as best as you can and set probable examples for your children to follow? Is it not that of the Anglo-American?
Yes, sir.
Are you not then reproducing the culture, religion, and language of the slave masters of your forefathers and not your own?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Master.
What law did the U.S. government violate? That's what we want to know. What law did they violate? When the Honorable Silas Muhammad went to the United Nations, he discovered that the UN simply did not view African Americans at all. He saw that African Americans did not fit into the category of minority because they did not have their mother tongue, culture, and religion. These things had been taken by force. Because they did not fit in the UN system, African Americans had no UN recognized human rights. Yes, Mr. Muhammad realized that the road to reparation would lie in demonstrating that the enslaved Africans were forcibly denied their mother tongue. And through that act, their original identity has destroyed. The United Nations experts are well aware that the language is the way a people preserve their religion and culture. Therefore, mother tongue is the essence of reparations are due. This is the legal foundation under international law. Since the U.S. government cannot restore our mother tongue, Congress and President Obama should speak with the Honorable Silas Muhammad and representatives from the Afro-descended government about reparations. America will argue that it would not apply a modern-day law to a historical act, meaning slavery. The Honorable Silas Muhammad took a modern-day violation that America committed and applied it to a modern-day law. What is that modern-day law that America violated? She violated Article 27 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. We're going international now. She has shown us what she has done to our sister, Deidre Farmer, right?
Yes, that's right.
She tried to sue the corporation, right?
That's right. Yes,
that was domestic, right?
That's right.
When you are seeking human rights, where do you go?
International court.
You go international, right?
That's right.
You don't go to Congress. Congress deals with civil rights. You go international. You go to the United Nations.
That's Come on, right. Feel the heat.
Feel the heat. All
That's
right.
Getting hot.
America is in violation of Article 27 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights.
That's right.
In those states in which ethnic, religious, or linguistic minorities exist, persons belonging to such minorities shall not be denied the right in community with the other members of their group to enjoy their own culture, to profess and practice their own religion, or to use their own language. Can you speak your mother tongue?
No, sir.
Well, let me tell you a little story. In 1966, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. In 1976, it became enforceable.
Yes, sir.
In 1992, the U.S. Senate ratified that covenant. Now, it took 26 years before she signed it, before she ratified this covenant. Why did she wait so long? Malcolm was assassinated. Dr. King was assassinated. The Black Panther Party was wiped out.
Yes, sir.
The Nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he passed away. J. Edgar Hoover had wiped out all the black organizations. It was almost like someone sending a fire inspector or assessor or an adjuster to look at the damage. We can sign it now. There's no one that can stop it. We can sign it now.
Come on.
And the U.S. Senate signed or ratified the covenant on civil and political rights.
That's right.
And that means that it was become binding.
Yes, sir.
You know how you sign something and don't look at the fine print? That's what America did.
That's right.
And we are on the road to reparations.
That's right.
I don't think you hear me.
Make it plain, man. Say it loud, sir.
We are on the road to reparations. We have a legal right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we have a government that can sit down and talk with America.
That's right. Right. Feel the heat.
Do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The U.S. Senate, when they ratified that covenant, they slit their own throat. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you something. I have a book, and the title of this book is called Conversation with Rabbi Small. And this rabbi and this scientist was talking about when this Messiah, when he returned, where would he go? Would he go to Jerusalem? When I looked in this book, I didn't see Jerusalem. Not this Messiah. He wouldn't go to Jerusalem. In this book, it say that he would go to an organization like unto the United Nations. I know you ain't never heard this. Y'all, I don't think you can hear me.
Say it loud.
Let me read it to you. The rabbis set certain limits to our thinking about the Messiah. One is that the Messiah is a man of men. That implies that his coming will produce a political and social revolution of some kind. A political, not a religious, a political and social revolution.
Come on, man.
And you know when the black men stand up in unity and demand reparations, don't you know that's going to set off a political and social revolution in America? It could come as the result of a constant improvement in human affairs, or it could result from a reaction to great trouble and misery. But in either case, that could come about through some organization like the United Nations. I know the preacher talks about Jesus being a religious man, right?
Yes, sir.
But the rabbi them is talking about a political man.
That's right.
Standing before every nation.
That's right.
Standing before every nation.
That's right.
They record are going to be read. The Honorable Silas Muhammad. Let's look at him once again.
Yes, sir.
Very wise.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, our people, we have them out there. I don't care what you say, we still not going to get it.
Yes, sir.
Doubting Thomas. Sound just like that slave. That big pistol up to his head.
Yes, sir.
Greetings, Madam Chair, Madam Gay McDougal, experts, country representatives, scholars, and minorities. One of the purposes of this forum is the identification of challenges and problems facing minorities and states. We Afro-descendants want for ourselves and for our children an education, especially now at our inception as an internationally recognized human family. We want an education in our mother tongue. United Nations scholars state that language, not just any language, but one's mother tongue is intimately bound with identity. Thus, the right to such an education is an identity right. Article 1, Section 1, Point 1 of the Declaration on the Rights of Persons Belonging to Minorities indicates states shall protect and promote the identity of minorities. The United States of America, mainly as well as other states, have breached this United Nations obligation. Since the abolition of slavery until now, Afro-descendants have been denied self-identity, education in our mother tongue. It is the very dignity we are without. The former slave-holding states have a duty to protect not only the existence, but the national, ethnic, cultural, religious, and linguistic identity of minorities. Mr. M. Sharif Bassioni stated in his final report to the 56th session of the Commission on Human Rights that economic compensation for victims of gross violations of human rights should be provided for any accessible damage resulting from violations of international human rights and humanitarian law, lost opportunities, including education. Since we were forcibly deprived of our mother tongue due to slavery and its lingering effects, we want compensation from those states, especially the United States, responsible for denying us an education intimately bound with identity. Afro-descendants claim the right to compensation for violations of international law, articulated in the Declaration on the Rights of Minorities, as well as Article 27 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, due to lost opportunities, including education. In conclusion, we suggest that the regional forum for Afro-descendants start under the auspices of the former working group on minorities. This is a statement, an oral statement from the Honorable Silas Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
He's our champion.
Yes, sir.
Your champion.
Yes, sir.
And the only thing that you got to do is unite under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant government. And let's bring this white boy to justice.
Yes, sir.
Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Our ancestors was not only brought to America on a ship called Jesus,
Listen.
they were brought to America on a ship called John the Baptist.
Listen.
Do you hear me? According to Professor Dwight Drummond, over 100 million of our ancestors were uprooted from the continent
That's right.
and brought to the Western Hemisphere. By the end of the Civil War, only 25 million remained in the Western Hemisphere. What happened to the other 75 million? What happened? Their bones is in the soil. Yes, sir. In this Western Hemisphere. Their bones at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Yes, sir. That's the truth. Where are the men? Where are the gods? Those who will kill concrete, where are they? Good question. I want to call Black America to unity. Right. Under the Afro-descendant government. Come under this umbrella like the Jews when they met in 1951. Unity is the key. Yes, sir. To our salvation. Yes, sir. That's right. For you never will be equal with the white man in America. That's right. Have you ever seen a slave equal to his master? No, sir. So you are going to have to do something, black man. Yes, sir. I understand that thousands of Syrians is coming to America. You was crying about the Hispanics coming across the border, taking jobs. Now here come thousands of Syrians that's supposed to come to America. So you know you're going to be crying. So black man, you better stand up and do something. Or else you're going to have to speak Spanish. You're going to have a Spanish master. Oh yeah, you're going to have a Spanish master. What are you going to do? That's the question. You'll shoot and kill your brother in the street because he got a different bandana, different color on? What about this common enemy? What about him that placed you in him in the same condition? That's right. What about him? When are you going to come together in unity and say, well, that's the enemy right there. We have a common oppressor. Let's bring him to justice now. And we can buy more than sneakers. We can have our own nation. We can control our own destiny. We can be our own president, our own governor. We can have our own Secretary of State. Yes, sir. Our own ambassadors. Our own senators. Our own senators. Yes, sir. All representatives from the House. We can have that. We can have our own Supreme Court. We are human beings. We can do it. The only thing you got to do is believe in yourself. Yes, sir. And if you're afraid, just fall behind us. Yes, sir. That's what you can do. Give us your support. Represent your family tree. You got to do it. You got to do it because your mother, she lost her tongue. She lost her tongue. Her baby lost her tongue. And you got to do something about it. Yes, the Honorable Silas Muhammad stood up to do something about it. Yes, sir. He didn't call Al Sharpton. He didn't call Reverend Al Sharpton. He didn't call Jesse Jackson. No, sir. He didn't call the civil rights leaders. He stood up like a man and went forward. Yes, sir. A student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Suppose all the trees in the wilderness of North America were human beings and had human emotions. Suppose the trees could testify about all the murders, all the forced mixed breeding and rape, all the lynching, all the injustice, and all the evil and wrong ever done to black people for 310 years.
Long story.
Suppose the trees start crying uncontrollably after witnessing the worst crimes ever recorded in human history. I would venture to say that their tears would create a tsunami that would flood America from coast to coast, from New York to California. Suppose the trees testified against white America and the government for all the wrong and evil it done to black people. Suppose white America was standing before the God of justice and he was found guilty of ethnocide. And ethnocide is the systematic destruction of a people's name, religion, culture, history, language, and identity. Should not America be sentenced to death?
Yes, sir.
For all her wrong and evil?
That's right.
Shouldn't she be sentenced to death?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
White America, you got to own this. You got to own it. You got to explain why 40 million Afro-descendants are here in America.
Good point, Minister. Good point.
What if a doctor told you that you had 1 in 40 million chances to live? What would be your reaction? When a people has been a victim of ethnocide, their memory has been erased. The damage that has been done to the minds of black people is devastating. For example, only one person, one human being, one Afro-descendant out of 40 million was able to make it back to his ancestral village in Africa. Look at that damage. Only one out of 40 million.
Yes, sir.
That was Alex Haley. Only one.
Yes, sir.
This white man had us trapped. He had closed every avenue for us to receive justice.
Yes, sir.
Look at that damage. After researching for 12 years, Alex Haley was able to make it back to his ancestral village in Africa. Professor Zaki Amir, who lives in China, told me that he interviewed Alex Haley. He asked him why he didn't change his last name to Kente after his ancestor Kuta Kente.
Think about it.
Professor Zaki said that he had a look on his face like he never thought about it. Look at that tremendous damage
Yes, sir.
to the psyche.
Yes, sir.
What this white man did to us. He erased our memory to the extent that we don't even know what country we come from in Africa. 55 countries in Africa. If you got on an airplane tomorrow, you wouldn't know what country to go to. Look at that damage.
Yes, sir.
I know it's so natural to you that you just can't see it. Out of the 55, now where you going? You tell me with your bad self. You know everything else.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what country you come from?
No,
If you don't know what country you come from, that's proof that you are damaged. And that you should come and join with us. And let's bring this white man to justice. In 1832. Is everybody all right?
Yes, sir.
In 1832, in the Virginia House of Delegates, a white man named Henry Berry said, "We have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which light may enter the slave's mind. If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete.
That's right.
They would be on the level with the beasts of the field, and we should be safe." Look at that. I'm cutting my lecture. I'm turning pages. Historian David Blight said in 1860, slaves were the single largest financial asset in the entire American economy, more than all manufacturing, railroads, all steamship lines, transportation systems put together. The only thing in the American economy worth more as simply financial assets was the land itself. 1807. British Caribbeans imported for a consumption 297.9 million pounds of sugar. You didn't hear me, did you? 297.9 million pounds of sugar and 3.77 million gallons of rum, as well as 16.4 million pounds of tobacco and 72.74 million pounds of cotton. In 1810, the enslaved population in the United States produced 93 million pounds of cotton and 84 million pounds of tobacco. It is estimated that the slaves put in 2.5 billion hours of labor. And you mean to say you don't need no reparations? Because in reality, there are some things that have changed. But for the most part, black people only evolve with technology and time. Do the math. Look at the bottom line. Black people in America own less than 0.5% of all the wealth in America. There's over 400 white billionaires compared to 3 or 4 black billionaires. Something is wrong with that picture.
Yes, sir.
One economist said that it would take 581 years or 11 generations to catch up before there would be economic parity or equality between black and white. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he said, words to the effect, how can you outrun a fellow runner in a race if he started out 300 years ahead of you economically?
That's right.
Now you tell me how you gonna catch him, black man, with your bad self. You better come on and unite with us under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant government.
Right.
Can't you see yourself, black man? Can't you see yourself struggling economically?
Way behind.
Way behind. How you gonna catch him? The white boy, he's getting ready to cross the finish line, right? Now look at the black man. financially struggling, right?
Yes, sir.
We need reparations. I'm cutting it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there was going to be a people who did not assist us, who would regret that they were non-helpers. I'm calling the black man into unity. I'm calling those Muslims into unity.
Yes, sir.
I'm calling black Christians into unity. I'm calling black people in general into unity, to fall up under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant government so we can go forth and bring America to justice before the world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the people will regret that they were non-helpers to us soon. I tell you a truth that is bound to materialize. Allah has promised me millions and billions and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, but I have to wait until it's time. He will release it certainly on time. He doesn't have to go somewhere and borrow it. It's here in America. If it's here in America, black man, let's go get it.
That's right.
Let's go get the reparation. He goes on to say, in past history, you will find when Allah was angry with the people, he always destroyed that people and took their wealth and gave it to the poor. Aren't we poor?
Yes, sir.
The God of justice is on your side. How can you lose? God never lost a battle, nor fought to a draw.
That's right.
We're going to be the winners in the end.
Yes, sir.
And the white man have used a science of divide and conquer on you and me.
Yes, sir.
He knows that when my Christian brother unite with me, and my Hebrew Israelite brother unite with me, he got trouble on his hands.
Yes, sir.
When the Crips and Bloods unite and start talking about reparations, he got trouble on his hands. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
If the dope dealers on the street corners turn around and unite under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant government,
Got trouble.
he got trouble on his hands, right? When the black man that's locked up, that's incarcerated, start calling out the name, chanting the name, long live Muhammad, silence Muhammad, he's going to be in trouble. When the name silence Muhammad, he's going to be in trouble, right?
Yes, sir.
When the Afro-descendants in Haiti start calling out the name silence Muhammad, he's in trouble.
Yes, sir. I bear witness.
I want to talk to my people now.
Yes, sir.
When this videotape go out on the World Wide Web, I want to show them why they should stand up and demand justice for themselves.
Yes, sir.
Andrew Hackett published a book in 1989. Two nations, black and white, separate, hostile, and unequal. In this book, there's a chapter called Being Black in America. Andrew Hackett was a professor at Queens College. And one day, Professor Hacker posed a question to his white students. He asked them, and I'm paraphrasing, or he wanted to know whether or not those white students knew the value of their whiteness. Professor Hacker asked them, what would you do if you turned black at 12 midnight and remained black for 50 years? The white students responded, I want $1 million for every coming black year. I want $1 million for every coming black year. I want a total of $50 million. Now these are white students. White students who are not suffering from the lingering effects of slavery, whose ancestors were never enslaved. There you have a people who can speak their language, a people who have their human rights. And they are saying that I want a total of $50 million in reparations compensation. That's what they said. So what do you say, black man and woman? Since you are suffering from slavery's lingering effect, how much do you want?
Good question.
Now you're going to have to answer that question. How much do you want?
Twice that amount.
Your white counterpart said that they want $50 million. If they're going to be black, that's what they're saying. If I'm going to be black, I want all the hell the black people be catching. I don't want to live in no crime-ridden neighborhood. I want to send my children to the best colleges and universities. I want a nice home. I want to live in a nice community.
Right.
I don't want to live in a community where they do redlining. I don't want to live in a community where there's bad service, bad medical care, bad clinics. I want the best medical care.
Right. Good teaching.
What do you want, black man?
Heaven on earth.
What do you want? If you want it, you're going to have to stand up and go get it.
Yes, sir.
There's no pie in the sky. Jesus is not coming back. He hasn't come back.
No, sir.
So what are you waiting on? It's been 2,000 years, brother. That's a long time. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not coming back, black man. He's been gone for 40 years.
Right.
What you gonna do, black man?
Stand right.
What you gonna do? That's the question.
Gotta stand up, Senator.
You got to stand up like a man
That's right.
and demand justice from America.
That's right, Senator.
You got to stand up, black man. You can't.
No other way.
There's no other way.
That's right.
Can't you see that you're being pushed out?
Yes, sir.
And if you don't stand up, black man, you're going to suffer.
Yes, sir.
Because we're going to leave you right here in America.
Yes, sir.
That's the chastiser. That's the equalizer right there.
Yes, sir.
Equalizer. Now, when you look at that picture, you might say, well, oh, those brothers crazy. No, we ain't crazy. You crazy. You don't want justice for yourself? You must be crazy.
Yes, sir.
Looking at you, you don't want justice. Somebody hit your car. You say, oh, don't worry about it. You got to jump out the car. Oh, my bad. And he just drive off.
Something wrong.
Something wrong with that. What are you going to do, black man? The white students have already said what they want. What do you want? You heard of Freddie Gray, right?
Baltimore.
In Baltimore. In the community, in the 7th district where Freddie Gray was born, or was raised up, the United States government gives Israel $3 billion a year. Do you know I have a mathematical breakdown of what every state gives in taxes to the state of Israel? In the area where Freddie Gray lived at, in that area, 7th district, I think it is, and Elijah Cummings represents that district. And Elijah Cummings said, blacks are beyond broke. That's serious right there. Blacks are beyond broke. And they have a breakdown for the state, the county, the city, and the district. And it says that the 7th district, the working poor, is projected to give $57 million in taxes that will go to Israel to assist Israel. Now, I want you to take a look. I want you to take a look at the beautiful settlements that the poor people in Baltimore, their tax dollars are going to build. Look at that. Now let's take a look at the. Here, can you switch it, Corinne?
Yeah, let's see what they looking like in Baltimore.
Yeah. Now look at these settlements. Is everybody all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't want to wear out your welcome. I'm
No,
almost
sir.
finished.
Take your time, Senator.
Oh, while it's coming up, I want to say this. There was an article that came out in the Washington Post, and it states that Baltimore youth have it worse than those in Nigeria. Look at that. Me, myself, Captain Ali took me on a tour of Baltimore. They have over 16,000 abandoned homes. They have over 30,000 people that's homeless. Well, if she can, I wanted to show the homes there in Baltimore and show the injustice that their tax dollars is going, to help pay for military aid and to build settlements for the state of Israel. Isn't that something?
Yes, sir.
If you can't get it, don't worry about it. Brothers and sisters, I didn't overextend my stay from this right.
No, sir.
I have enjoyed being with you, and I hope and I pray that you get with Senator Al Islam here in Philadelphia.
Hey, what'd you think of the reparations tour in Philadelphia? That's what I said. You just heard the information.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm looking forward to more hearing more about it and doing the work.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to receiving an email.
Okay. All right. Anything that you heard that kind of like resonated with you?
Everything. Okay. Everything. I mean, this is something that we need.
Right.
You know? I mean, we need reparations in order to rebuild our communities. You know, as a result of what's happened over the last 40 years. So, yeah, I'm with it in mind and spirit, and I'm looking forward to some changes.
Okay. Great.
It's long overdue.
Exactly. I was getting ready to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Just wanted to just ask you. You know, you've attended the reparations tour conference today. What was your takeaway from it?
It was very informative, brother. This is information that all our people need to hear. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity through Michael Cord program to move my schedule around here to come down. It's very power-packed with a lot of information and good research material here. And this is what we need. Information is power. We need the power to free ourselves because no one's going to do it. And I just praise the authors and people who put this tour here to Philadelphia, so gave us the opportunity to share in this information and the good work that's being done.
All right, great. Thank you, sir. All right. Sister Salia, just wanted to, you gave a little bit of information about the Afro-descendant youth. I know you didn't get a chance to really get in depth about it, but can you just talk about just kind of the history of it, how did it get formed, etc., and what's the purpose of it?
And it's in reference to Alien Global?
Yes.
Okay, so Alien Global is an organization I created. It's called Afro-Descendant Youth Network Global, and the purpose of it was to basically just have a youth perspective on what's going on with the reparations movement, and not just human rights reparations, but just more so just things that go on within our demographic ages between 13 and 30. So that was the purpose of me creating it, to reach out with other Afro-descendants around the world who share a common experience and cause who are young, and we wanted to have a youth perspective because we will be the inheritors of the government. With senators now, a lot of them are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, so we have to start learning. So it's like into a lobby group, and we're like lobbying on the behalf of youth Afro-descendant issues. So that's our purpose.
Okay. Let me ask you, staying on that whole youth piece, as you look at the youth, particularly African American youth or Afro-descendant youth in the U.S. in particular, give me your takeaway give me your assessment.
I would say Afro-descendant youth, we are powerful, misguided.
Okay.
And I would say we're powerful because we have no fear. We are the first generation that does not fear the white man at all. We're not afraid to stand up, and you see that with the Black Lives Matter. We are not, we have more access to information prior. We have our experiences of the Black Panther Party, the books that maybe our great-grandparents didn't have, but we're misguided because we are also fed so many things to distract us with rap, food, crime-ridden environments, lack of opportunity. So if we take our group or our demographic and we're guided on the right path, we can be very powerful, and they know that. And that's the reason why we're throwing these different distractions. So I say we are powerful, misguided, but we have no fear, and that's going to be our advantage. And once that I guess that thing in our brain is unlocked, and that thing is human rights and reparations, then we'll be the most powerful group on the planet, us, our youth, the ones that everyone tries to say that we're nothing, but we're very powerful because we have no fear.
And know, you raise a very good point, because when you look at like the uprising in Baltimore, your father mentioned the young guy that got killed by the police officers in Baltimore, and if you look at Ferguson, there is a frustration that is primarily hitting a lot of our youth. Talk about that.
Well, I'm from Washington, D.C., and Baltimore is my sister city, so it's about 45 minutes, and maybe in traffic an hour away. So I have friends from Baltimore, and it's a very poor city that's been systematically locked out. To my knowledge, if I'm quoting correctly, they don't have any recreational centers. So how can you take a group of people and give them poor education, no access to recreational activities that you need as an outlet as a youth, and then say, why are you so angry? And also, like the report stated, I think if I read correctly, that children in Baltimore are doing worse than children that are in third world countries like Nigeria and Kenya, and I think India, if I quoted correctly. So if that's occurring in the United States, what are you to expect? The Baltimore riots were nothing but a reflection of what the deprivation that goes on in that community. Like, there are thousands and thousands of row houses that sit empty, and Baltimore chooses to do nothing about it. So how can you expect a group of people who have poor access to education, no opportunity for jobs, poor housing, no outlets for their children, expect them to have any type of, glimmer of hope? There's nothing but deprivation and pain. The people of Baltimore are very intelligent. They're very community-based people. Whenever I go there, I feel like I'm at home. So I want that stereotype to be taken apart. Baltimore is a community, and they care about their people, and they care about their children. They're not savages. They're people who just been deprived. And when you do not give people access to what they need to be a successful community, you set them up to express their anger in ways in which they call savage, which to me is just inhumane.
Right. So, all right. Thank you so much, Sister Sylvia.